Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's K-Gibbs F1 here, and welcome back to some more Formula Xbox Season 7 highlights. This time it's round 16 from the Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia. And the Sepang International Circuit is the first of the Tilcadromes to ever be built, and it's probably one of the best Tilcadromes out there. Very technical Sector 2, which is very rewarding when you get it right, and two long straights as well, and a very impressive grandstand to your left there, as you can see, which make overtaking, well, the grandstand doesn't make overtaking any easier, of course, but the actual pit straights, or the back straight and the front straight, they most certainly do, with some big braking zones at the end. And as you can see, we might have to do some overtaking in the race, but potentially not as much as we usually have to, because we start in P10. 10th, a slightly annoying position, because it means that we're going to have to start on the tyres we qualified on, and we are last of those that do have to do that. So I would have rather actually finished P11 in qualifying, but we will take 10th nonetheless, and hopefully carry the pace we've shown in quali into this race. Now, strategy-wise, it's quite a simple one. Soft tyres, onto that another set of hards, and then onto a second set of hard tyres for the final stint. So we have 5 red lights. Can we optimise this soft tyre stint at the start of this race when we'll have some really sticky tyres compared to those later on? Well, we'll have to find out as we get a fairly decent getaway, and we're going to take the outside line going into turn 1. We're on the outside of the manor. If anybody gets collected on the inside, we are going to get skittled here, but we've just about got away with it as PT wipes my nose there at turn 2. He was taking no prisoners there, all fair, but it does mean Vapid has managed to get around the outside of us there, and we've dropped down to P10, looking to make it up into turn 4. We've tried to do too much on the way into 4. We've hit the back of the Force India, and we've lost the position to Sinan as well. So that was a disastrous corner there. Hit the back of Vapid, damaged our front wing, and then lost another place to Sinan as well. But the Red Bull goes wide through turn 6 onto the grass as well. That's going to give us a chance into turn 7, and we've made that move stick by the looks of things. We're going to run him out of road on the exit, and that is job done. So we're now back up into P10, but will this front wing damage compromise us? That is the question for the rest of this race, or the rest of this stint at least, before we can get a new front wing on our car. We're boxed in a little bit there between Vapid and Sinan, but we're now going to go down the inside of Vapid as it's all kicking off lap 1 here. We've got a car off on the outside there as well. It's all drama. Sinan's going back down the inside of us here as well at turn 13, and has done that incredibly well. Hung us out to dry, and Perez is now wanting a piece of the action as well. He's gone down the inside. It is absolutely frenetic stuff here on lap 1, as we're now going to try and make a move on Perez as Drastic Midget tries to make a move on us. We have to pause our breath in a second. It's absolutely breathless stuff here as we go down the inside of Perez, but a shallow line through the final corner is going to give Perez better traction on the exit, and he might mug us once again down into turn 1. So we're heading on to lap 2 now. We still haven't had a cut from this race because it's been absolutely frantic stuff so far. I've almost gone to the car park after locking up into turn 1. Can we try and regain the high ground at turn 2? No, Perez hangs out around the outside very, very well indeed, and he has gobbled up P10. And after all that, we've dropped a position from the start, but we're going to soon gain that back, as well as the Mighty Midget has lagged out, at least momentarily. If he does manage to rejoin, he will come steaming back at us. Because his pace that he's shown thus far is very, very good indeed. So we could find a Toro Rosso all over our gearbox in just a few moments' time. And right on cue, here he is, Mighty Midget, rejoining the race, and is right on our gearbox on lap 3, so it didn't take him very long either. We're going to have DRS service from Perez, but that is not going to perturb the Mighty Midget. Mighty by name, mighty by nature here, as he comes back at us without... Well, we've got DRS, he's got DRS as well, but clearly running less downforce on that Toro Rosso, or at least got superior traction off the penultimate corner. And that is all she wrote as far as the battle with Mighty Midget goes. But we might be able to get the manor that is ahead of him at the moment, because that is PT, and PT has lagged out of this race, for now at least. So we're going to gobble up a position here. We nearly hit the back of Mighty Midget there, actually misjudging where he was relative to the ghost car momentarily, but we just about avoided it. So I seem to be magnetised to the back of other people's cars in this race thus far, but fortunately no harm done against Mighty Midget on that occasion, unlike what happened a few moments ago with Vapid on lap 1. I don't at this point seem to be struggling too much from the front wing damage. It's here where it's really costing me through turns 5 and 6, but other than that, it's pretty... We're not really losing that much time. We will still get it changed, however, during the first pit stops. And here we go now, right on cue. We enter the pit lane for what is our first of 2 stops today, moving from the soft tyre onto our first set of the hard compound, and then we'll go onto a second set of the hard compound with probably about lap 18 or so, lap 17, 18 maybe. We get a new front wing put on the car as well, and so as our mechanics have done their work very, very well there indeed, but we still come out in what is P15 of 18, and it has cost us quite a lot of time, unfortunately. So you're right in the thick of the battle for the points before the pit stop. Will we be once all the pit stops play out? I very much doubt it, to be fair, with that extra longevity of the pit stop thanks to the front wing damage, but we'll have to wait and see. It's now about getting the hammer down. A few time trial lap times will put us back in play, but it's going to be hard to bring these hard tyres up to temperature anyway, as I alluded to earlier. And so here we go, PT coming out of the pit lane. We, of course, were in a bit of a battle with him earlier after he lagged out. He is back in the game and back in front of us again in P13. So we are, unfortunately, de facto P14 by the looks of things at the moment, but we're trying to improve that position now as we get superior traction against PT on the run through turn 3. But he's got a better line through there, and I'm going to maybe look to the inside at turn 4. It's going to be a dive bomb, and that is going to be a lunge if we're going to pull it off, but no, he's later on the brakes than we are, and we have to settle in behind. But if I just glance behind there for a brief moment, and you saw a Red Bull looming large behind me, and that is Noor the Dragon, steaming back from an incident, I believe, earlier on in this race. So he is hungry for this P14, and I am doing very, very little to try and stop him from taking it right now. I'm all over the show through those corners there, and that has put Noor right on my gearbox as we head through the final corner now, and we pinch him to the apex. So I didn't realise quite how close he was to the back of me. With DRS service, I am surely going to be a sitting duck versus Noor heading into turn 1. He's going to go to the outside. I forced him to the outside. That could give him the inside at 2. PT has exited stage left there. He's had contact by the looks of things with the Haas, and I've had to turn out of turn 2 because Noor was right there on the apex, but he hasn't managed to get the traction off the corner, and we maintain what is now P12 for the moment. We have to go defensive into 4 though, and we have indeed defended that inside line once again. Noor, you caught a glimpse of the Total logo on his front wing, and we show him the grass on the exit of turn 4 as he was on our outside there, but he didn't quite have enough of his car alongside to make the move stick. Now, however, lap 8, and he'll have DRS service once again down this back straight. I mentioned earlier how much these are going to be overtaking opportunities at the end of these straights, and not on this occasion because a safety car has been deployed, and so we're going to take the opportunity, both me and Noor, and pretty much anybody behind us, I'd imagine, to make a pit stop. We're going to go to another set of hard compound tyres. They will most likely not go to the end of the race from here. It's a big, big ask, but if we pit now and go to hard tyres, we might, just maybe, be able to go to a set of the soft tyres at the end and have a faster car for those final laps of this race. So how will this play out? The guys, as you can see, as we emerge from the pit lane, the guys that are in Sector 2 now seem to be on a delta. Now, we're, of course, not going to have a delta because we have actually emerged from the pit lane. We've already crossed the line. So those guys that are bottled up behind somebody on a delta at the moment could be vulnerable to us that have stopped. But as you can see, not on this occasion. We still retain a position outside the points at the moment, P11, as this race looks to be getting underway once again. Drastic Devil all over our gearbox, and that is not a sight you want to see. Both him and Noor shaping up for a move on me as soon as this race goes green, and Drastic Devil's made that move under yellows. He'll have to give that back, but Noor certainly hasn't. He's absolutely mugged me on the inside there, caught me napping. I was so busy watching the Haas that I forgot about the Red Bull on the inside. So from P11 to P12, and we're at least closer to the points than we were before the safety car, but it hasn't quite paid off as I hoped it would. As you see, Noor now attacking Samham, and he's now attacking the Williams as well. Maybe if he can dispatch the Renault, and he has indeed. We're on the inside of Samham now. It's very tight there as I was pushed up towards the curb, and now the Renault is coming back at the Red Bull. Noor with no straight line speed there, and Samham's just clearly gone past him, and Drastic Devil's come diving in at turn 4. How he didn't T-bone the Red Bull there, judging by the speed at which his position indicator launched in at the corner, I do not know. But we got away with it anyway, and so P12 still our position as this restart plays its way out, and Noor still the man ahead of us after mugging us at the final corner. And for the second time today, in fact, we've been mugged there. As we go down the inside of Noor, we had to bail out of it. It was more a late break that sort of had to become somewhat of an overtake attempt rather than a legitimate overtake attempt, because, well, we certainly didn't go for it there. We were coming from a mile back, and speaking of being a mile back, we dropped a little bit of ground to Noor in the remaining lap. But as he battles that Renault still, that has brought us right back into play in this battle for the final points paying position. And so Samham going defensive into 4. Noor looking to the outside, probing the back of that Renault to see if he can find a way past. No avail on this occasion. And we are still in P12, hoping that something's going to happen between these two up ahead so that we can take advantage. We get a great run through the chicane, but so does Samham. Noor not quite so much, but we just cannot make a move on him. That Red Bull very, very wide at the minute. And the areas that we're faster, he is faster than us. We've gone wide there through turn 13. That is absolutely disastrous. That's us in the gravel. We just put a wheel on the grass on the way through that corner there. It's such a tricky one because you're having to brake as you're turning, and it can get in the back end, gets very squirrely, and it just pitched us onto the grass, and we were a passenger from then on in. However, I will make one point at this stage of the race, and that is that was excellent physics from Codemasters, because as soon as I put a wheel on the grass, that was game, set and match. However, safety car has now been deployed, which means that game, set and match has become somewhat of an opportunity for us. In fact, a very big opportunity, because now of course we can make a pit stop, and as you can see on the map, almost everyone bar us has passed the pit lane. That spin into the gravel trap has miraculously actually brought us back into play in this race. If we hadn't done that, we would have been past the pits like everybody else. But because we binned it, we've actually set to profit from this quite considerably indeed, because we're now going to go onto the hard compound tyre. Now on this set of tyres, we can go to the end of this race categorically. There's no chance we're not going to be able to go to the end of the race on these tyres. And as you can see on the map in sector 2, everybody is on a delta, whereas we are going to be able to absolutely obliterate this lap to try and catch the safety car with no delta. And as you can see on the map now, everybody is pulling into the pit lane. There's 2 cars that have stayed out, but bar those ones, the pit lane is an absolute hive of activity. So the question now is, where are we going to play out in this? Because we're certainly going to gain places. How far up the field are we going to get as a result of this? So we come around the final corner now, dots all in their pit garages, all in the boxes at the moment, and we are going to see these positions tumble. It's 11th, 10th, I can't even catch up, but we're in 3rd place now, into a podium position after being backwards in the gravel 2 laps ago. You can't ride this league, I tell you. Formula Xbox delivering again. Spectacular changes in the running order. We've seen it a couple of times already this season, and it's now Perez leading from Noor, who've been battling all the race outside the points, from me and Kung Fu Kenny Jack in 4th. With less than 10 laps to go, we are staring at the real possibility of a podium. And I did not think I'd be saying that when we started this race. So, exit in the final corner. We haven't been mugged like we were on the last restart, but Noor and Perez look like they're about to do battle. I'm trying to stay in their slipstream, and Kung Fu Kenny Jack is looking maybe to my outside as the 2 leaders go side by side into turn 1. Kung Fu Kenny Jack has had a moment there, I believe, a lag incident between me and him. Nothing I could do, unfortunately, but Perez and Noor are getting very, very close proximity to each other there through turns 1 and 2. That's brought us right into play, and Azar is now the man on our gearbox. Championship leader, of course. He's got a lot to lose if he tries to make too much of an audacious overtake on us. So if he does mount an attack, which you've got to be sure he will, you've got to make sure it's going to be clean, put it that way. So as we head through turns 5 and 6 now, we get a little bit of oversteer through 6, and Azar is going to waste no time bottled up behind us. The championship leader makes that move stick and gets up into P3. So for now at least, we are demoted out of the podium slots, but with Noor and Perez absolutely taking chunks out of each other up ahead, that could give us an opportunity if those two come to grief at any point. And you can see they're still side by side as we head into closing almost the first lap of this restart. Perez on the grass drops behind Noor's Red Bull for now, but they're still going at it through turns 14 into 15. And now down my inside comes Sinan, who block passes me there through the penultimate corner. That was brutal from Sinan, but very good stuff indeed. He goes up to P4. I'm now down to P5. Drastic Midget now on my gearbox. He was another man to profit from those two safety car periods, and they've brought us right into play. But P5, we can still see the leader though, with what will be 7 laps to go at the end of this one. I've now got Casey Legend, a man of course who, like so many in this race, are usually well clear of me, is now all over my gearbox. I've gone defensive into turn 4, covered off that inside line. I'm going to show him the grass on the exit, and looking at the grass themselves at the moment is Azar and Noor, who've come to grief on the exit of turn 4, and that has elevated us another 2 positions, and of course back into the podium spots, and we are catching Perez's Toro Rosso ahead of us, no less. So in a few moments time we are most likely going to be in a battle for 2nd place in this race. Annoyingly, there's a 3-second time penalty that's going to be added to my race time though, as you just saw pop up there, for 3 occasions when I've exceeded track limits. So very, very frustrating indeed, particularly considering that you may have noticed our spin into the gravel trap just here a few laps ago was one of those moments, I should say, where we picked up a warning. So very frustrating indeed, because of course we didn't gain any time of that. In fact, we lost what must have been maybe 7 or 8 seconds. But nonetheless, we're on the back now of Perez's Toro Rosso, and just as I mentioned a few moments ago, we're now going to try and mount an assault for 2nd place here in Malaysia. So we've got DRS. Perez is going to be vulnerable here into turn 1. We're going to go to the outside line. He's defending that inside line. Casey's gone to the outside and gone and ran to the car park at the exit of turn 1, and so that's the Renault out of the equation, and it's the Mighty Midget now, the man bearing down on us. We're in a Toro Rosso sandwich, and we would dearly like to get out of the sandwich and become the layer of bread on top and take Perez as P2 as a result. But it looks like Mighty Midget is going to have something to say about it, to be fair. If he can dump us down to P4, it could be a Toro Rosso double podium at this rate, and we pick up another couple of cheap exceeding track limits warnings. We cannot afford to do that again, but we've got bigger issues on our hands at the moment, because the Mighty Midget has absolutely mugged us there, having gone wide out of the chicane. So that's 2 Toro Rossos on the podium, and that's Perez, as you can see a couple of laps later, dispatched as well by his teammate. So we're right on the back of him, but no, we've thrown up another opportunity away. We've just lost our call there in the crucial moment, and that's allowed Vapid and Sam to go through as well. So running wide there, and that's put Casey right on our gearbox once again as well. Frenetic, just like it was on lap 1, on lap 24 of this race, as Vapid and Sam have moved up to P4 and 5. We're now in P6, Casey's P7, and we've gone from looking at the potential of a P2 in this race to now trying to hang on to a fairly decent point scoring position, which is definitely not what we want to be doing at this stage. Azar sets the fastest lap of this race as he looks to try and recover from his incident with Noor, and we're looking at the back of his teammate Sam now in P5, and we're going to try and salvage those places that we lost very cheaply indeed. Last season we actually did the same thing at turn 14 that I did a few moments ago, where we basically Sergio Perez did it on the exit. It's very easily done, and that's ultimately proved pretty costly today, just as it did in Season 6 as well, where we lost out a couple of places there. And so lap 25 now, we haven't got many laps to go to try and recover this, and we've got to watch out as well, because Casey is looking very threatening behind us. We're looking more likely at this point to lose a place before we gain one, in all honesty, and so we're going to have to try and defend for all we're worth here, but we're actually closing in on Sam, so worrying about Casey's Renault is actually drawing us into the back of the Ferrari. This is mega tension here. You just can't write it. A minute ago we were backwards in the gravel. Now we're facing the prospect of a very, very good point scoring position indeed. And Formula Xbox, this has got to be one of the most exciting races of the season so far, no doubt. And just as we mentioned that, there's Perez, look, in his Toro Rosso. He was trying to stretch the tyres to try and bring himself into play for a race victory, and it's all turned sour for him with 2 laps to go, as the Toro Rosso man has got a clear puncture there and is going to have to make a pit stop. So from ecstasy to agony there for Perez, who has lost out big time, as we get DRS now on Sam, who has DRS of course on Vapid, and it's all going to get very tasty on this penultimate lap between the 2 guys ahead. Vapid defends hard to the inside, Sam goes to the outside. It's going to be tricky to run the gauntlet around the outside at turn 1, but he'll have the inside for 2 if he can hang on, which he just about does, but Vapid's going to get better traction there, and all the while this is bringing us right into play for what is a position on the podium. So we're right on the back of both Sam and Vapid now as they do battle. I don't want to go and stick a wheel where a wheel should not be at this point, because I do not want to throw away what would be a decent point scoring position anyway in P5 as they go side by side through turns 5, side by side through 6. Vapid gets tagged and Vapid is off into the gravel trap, and that is his chance at points scuppered, and that is us into P4 now, just Sam between us and a point scoring place. Now of course we've got to hope that these guys have got penalties, because if they haven't, then we're going to drop down anyway. But regardless, we're just going to try and battle for third on track and just hope and pray that they have a 3-second time penalty at least themselves, as we have to now go defensive against Casey. We did not want to have to be defending from the Renault on this last lap, because every time we take a defensive line, that is costing us time to Sam ahead. And as you can see, Sam's pulled out a bit of a margin over us, and that is a margin that we are unable to close. And so Sam in P3 is going to lock out the final spot on the podium, and we are just going to be shut out today from what would have been our first podium in years, quite frankly. But we come across the line anyway, P4. We drop to P5 as Casey was penaltyless himself, and so that is at least a season equaling best of 5th place, equaling what we did in Australia right back in the first round. And so season 7 hasn't had too many highlights, but that race most certainly was one of them for us. An absolute thrilling race where we were right in the thick of things, from being backwards in the gravel sensationally in lap 16 to somehow clawing our way back to P3 with what was admittedly a very fortunate safety car that brought us right back into play. Timing, it couldn't be any better than that, quite frankly, after a spin that just brought us right back into contention in the final assessment. But congrats to Sinan, and congrats to Mighty Midget. Mighty Midget, of course, who lagged out at one point in that race and managed to come back to second. Sam in third, Casey fourth, I'm fifth. And well, just absolutely frenetic stuff. Prototype Budgie getting a point as well, which is brilliant news for him. And well, what more can be said about that? Race of the season, that one. And I very much hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed racing in it and commentating on it. Next time out, we will be in Japan. I said last time in Singapore, the next race is Japan, because I totally forgot about Malaysia. How I did that, I do not know, but I do apologise. And until next time, when, like I said, we shall be in Japan, I shall see you very soon. Goodbye.